Andorra gets a taste of her own medicine when her plan backfires and she imbibes a love potion meant for Samantha. Tonight we'll be discussing Bewitched episode number 125, Once in a Vial. Welcome to Twitch Talk. This time we're discussing episode number 125, Once in a Vial. The story is by James Henderson, and the teleplay was written by James Henderson and Ed Jurist. It was directed by Bruce Bilson, produced by William Asher, and the executive producer is Harry Ackerman. The regular cast includes Elizabeth Montgomery as Samantha, Dick York as Darren, and Agnes Moorehead as Andorra. The additional cast includes Ron Randall as Rollo, Art Johnson as Bo Callahan, Henry Beckman as Bill Walters, Joan Tompkins as Harriet Walters, Frederick Downs as the JP, Mary Lansing as JP's wife, Jan Arvin as the maitre d', and Darlene Enlow as Girl. And now David is going to give us some interesting historical facts. David?
Thanks, Mark. Production for Once in a Vial was completed on November 8th, 1967. It was originally broadcast on the ABC television network on January 4th, 1968, with a repeat broadcast on August 1st, 1968. This was the 18th episode of Season 4 and the 125th episode of the series overall. Some of the headlines on the original broadcast date of January 4th, 1968 were: Duck Hunter accidentally shoots endangered whooping crane in Texas, and Rio Fender sells Fender guitars for $13 million to CBS. The number one song on the Billboard charts was Hello Goodbye by the Beatles, and the number one motion picture at the box office was Valley of the Dolls, released in the US on December 27th, 1967. Valley of the Dolls would go on to gross $44,432,255, which today is equivalent to $378,947,126.07. Now we'll check in with Mike, who this time is somewhere out in the cosmos, and find out what continuity errors he has with this episode. Take it away, Mike, from wherever you are.
Thank you, David. I am Adam Michael James. Excuse me. It's a little dry. I have to have something to drink. Oh! When do we start? When do we start the continuity, beautiful man? While we're on this love fest, this episode is a sheer Agnes Moorehead tour de force, and it's not even the first time this season. Back in Allergic to Ancient Macedonian Dodo Birds, Agnes Moorehead also got a chance to show her stuff and break out of Andorra's kind of stuffy character, and this is another example, and she was just amazing. Other things I liked about this episode is the kind of unusual duos we had. Darren and Rollo, their very stilted conversation is very funny. Samantha and Rollo, even though Samantha kind of, treats him with disdain through a lot of the episode, she teams up with Rollo to help Andorra, which is pretty neat. And then, of course, Andorra totally met her match in Bo Callahan, who has no filter and, just says whatever he thinks, and Andorra does not know what to do with him. And it's such it's so nice to see someone kind of put Endora on her hooks for a change. So I do want to mention, though, that if Endora really wanted Samantha to return to the witchy life, all she has to do is say, hey, Samantha, you're Queen of the Witches, remember? Yeah, that happened in the first episode of this season, but it never comes up. I don't know why that is. And not since It Takes One to Know One, episode 11 in the first season, have Samantha and Endora popped in and out of a restaurant so much, and the only one who seems to notice is that one waiter. Everybody else is just like, yeah, I'm just having my lunch. Anyway, that's all I've got for now.
Thanks, Mike. So now we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll bring in the panel, and we will discuss Bewitched episode number 125, Once in a Vial. We'll be right back.
I like a nice cup of tea in the morning.
What's up, freakers? It's tea time. Today I want to tell you about a book I'm reading. Now, it's not just any book. It's got words and a cover and pages. No, it's not just any kind of book. It's a history book. Now, you're probably thinking, why in the name of all that glitters do I want to read a history book? But this isn't some kind of rag about generals and politicians and all that crap. No, this is the Bewitched history book, and it's one of my favorites. It's full of facts and dates, but it's also got trivia and anecdotes about our favorite show, Bewitched. Now, here's a gleaming little nugget. Did you know that the day that Samantha for the Defense Part 2 aired, December 15th, 1966, that Walt Disney passed from this earth to that great adventure park in the sky? Who knew? Now, I could tell you more, but that would keep you from getting over to Amazon and buying your own copy. Y'all enjoy.
I like a nice cup of tea in the morning, for to start the day, you see.
Welcome back to Twitch Talk, and today we're going to be talking about episode number 125, Once in a Vial. But before we start, does everyone have their magical beverage?
It's so magical, it's invisible.
It is. I have my martini, and I hope there isn't a love potion in it. Anyway, Mike is away in the cosmos, but he'll be joining us remotely, so he's not able to join us here on the panel today. But he'll be checking in throughout the show. And again, we're talking about Bewitched episode 125, Once in a Vial. And this episode was actually chosen by Anna. So Anna, I'm going to let you give a brief description of the episode.
Okay. Sam is making breakfast in the making Darren's breakfast, and Endora pops in and brings up that she ran into Samantha's old boyfriend, Rollo. And a trick is played where, for once, somebody gets the best of Endora. Very unusual episode, and I'm very excited to talk about it with everybody.
Okay. So what we're going to do is, as usual, we're going to go through and we're going to give our thoughts about the episode, mention anything that really stands out to you, any bloopers that you might have noticed, or anything that just whatever comes to mind. And once you've done that, then we're going to rate the episode from 1 to 4 stars, 4 being the best, 1 being the worst, and then we'll go back at the end and we will average out the ratings and come up with the overall rating for the episode. But before we do that, let's introduce everybody. We have Justin, and we have June, and Anna, of course, as Endora, and Vell, and of course David is here. So, and again, Mike will be joining us remotely, and there he is right there. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Justin.
One of the things I noticed about this episode is it's practically the same opening as Samantha's wedding present. Samantha's in the kitchen, and she's around the sink, and Endora messes around with some dishes and pops in, and Samantha says, Mother, I'd rather do it myself. And Endora is holding what appears to be the same package in both episodes. I mean, the package is purple, and Endora has been in Paris. Also, there's a similarity with the episode Make Love Not Hate. There was a love potion involved, but it was clam dip and not a drink. Another thing I noticed about this episode is, aren't they forbidden from the Witches' Council to do magic in front of mortals? In the restaurant, there was all this popping in and out, and Endora moved that glass. Couldn't they get in trouble for that? At one point, Endora's in the kitchen, and Darren comes in and says hello. He sees Endora and he says, goodbye, I lost my appetite. I thought throughout Bewitched, Darren was just so rude to Endora. It's like he didn't even make an effort for the most part. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Maybe if Darren tried to be a little bit nice to Endora, she wouldn't have done all that mean and bad stuff to him. So I do blame Darren a little bit for the predicaments he was in. This episode had a lot of good lines that made me laugh. At one point, Endora popped a magnifying glass to give to the Justice of the Peace so he could read the vows. And the Justice of the Peace wife said, I must say, you folks came prepared for everything. I thought that was a funny thing. Another point, when the wedding party ended up in Samantha's backyard, the Justice of the Peace says, what's going on here? And his wife said, he's having a dream and we're all in it. I thought that was a funny one too. Overall, I laughed during this episode. I liked the plot. It was an interesting episode. I give it 3.5 stars.
All right, let's move on to June, who's still in her Salem mode. Teacher.
Well, I'm sitting here with my Essence of Bacon perfume on. No, this episode was so much fun. I laughed so many times, and there are so many good lines in this episode. It just, each time I was like, oh my gosh, you say that. But one thing I kind of wonder is, why would Sam ever date someone like Rollo in the first place? I was like, that just does not seem like her type. I guess maybe, I was thinking when she said Beau, maybe it's just somebody that's interested in her and she really didn't date him. Maybe she just kind of went out and, whatever. But I was like, that guy is just, oh my God, like something else. But, I was going to say that too, about what Justin said about them not even hiding their magic at all. And it's like, especially the glass that just kind of slowly, But the Justice of the Peace, I was like, unless she's just, I'm like they said, he won't, when they wake up in the morning, they'll just think it was a dream. But it's like, come on, that's a little too much. The waiter and everything. But, well, I do have to say, though, one of the nicest things that Darren probably ever said to Endora was when it was the part where he said, I think Endora is a little too young to be wearing this perfume or something like that. And I was like, hey, that was kind of actually a nice thing he said about the perfume that was supposed to be for the old babes. I could wear it now, couldn't I? But I really, really like this episode. Like I said, the love potion, and then the married couple, Bill and Harriet, I think that were there. I was like, they must not really have a lot of love for each other when the love potion and suddenly finding her really attractive. She's like, poor couple. But I'm just going to say, overall, I really liked this episode. It was really funny, and I'm going to give it 4 stars.
All right. So we'll move on to Anna.
This is one of my favorite genres of Bewitched, beside being one of my all-time favorite episodes, because it's a family drama. That's the core of it. And so one of the things I love about that is Endora and Samantha going out for lunch. I have a collection fashion-wise of them doing that, lunch and shopping. And it's a moment where you see, like, okay, there's magic and all of that, but this is a mother and daughter, and they do mother and daughter things. That also has one of my favorite lines, June, that you stole. This situation with the client and Endora is so drastic that Darren actually compliments Endora by saying, I think Endora's too young for that perfume. A great Endora line was when Samantha says, I met Darren and it was love at first sight, and Endora says, it certainly wouldn't have if you'd taken a second look. That makes me long for a Bewitched prequel. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Samantha played the field a bit before Darren. I could see her dating Rollo. I mean, at the end, they kind of team up in a way to try and diffuse the situation. So yeah, I can see it. I love Darren in this episode when he is chasing Bill and Harriet. I mean, again, that's the physical comedy of Bewitched. They're just going to run around in circles, and poor Harriet. So it is not, I'm sure it's not hard to guess that I give this episode a 4.
All right, so let's move on to the Vell.
So this episode really was one of my favorites in season 4, and I'll be honest, a lot of season 4 episodes were my favorite. I feel like season 4 really came into its own in the series. Now, season 1 always has been my favorite, but season 4 is right at the top of all of this, and this is one of those episodes that it falls into, especially when you get to see Endora fall prey to something that should have been meant for Samantha, but this became a prank on Endora. You never really would see that on her. So I thought that was very interesting for her to play. I love that when she drank the champagne and Rollo tried to stop her from drinking it. When she said that line, you would if you had to listen to him, and then she drinks it. I was like, oh, it's coming, and then you hear the sound effect, and then she gets giddy and starts hugging on him, and I was just like, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun moment for this episode now. Bill and Harriet were absolutely comical. Absolutely comical. I love that actor. I loved it when he was in the previous season with the episode with Madame Marushka, or Marushka. So I fell in love with him in that episode, and seeing him here and playing the hungry man chaser for Harriet was absolutely amazing. And just seeing Darren just chase them throughout the house was great. He was no Clyde Farnsworth, but I think she would have been attracted to him. So, I think there could have been something there. But I like how they came together to try to salvage the situation, and just Endora popping her own daughter back to her house so that she can't even come and disrupt the wedding. I was like, that's pretty savage of a mother to do that to her child. I think that was pretty savage of Endora to do that. But I loved the fact that just the minister and his wife just went with it, and they just felt like it was a dream while they were standing there. They just said, it is what it is, pretty much. But this was absolutely fun. I loved it. I just loved Samantha's last line to Endora in the episode, and where she just goes, "No, mother, he isn't," and it's threatening you. He's just saying that as guests go. He wishes you would. She just basically goes out in a huff. I don't know why I found that little part funny, but I really thought that was hilarious just to see Endora so angry. And just pops out of the kitchen, and then that's it. I honestly thought she was going to do something before she exited, like she normally does when she gets angry, whether it's demolish the kitchen or turn Darren into something. I literally thought she was going to do that, but she just left. So I thought that was unusual for her. But I thoroughly enjoyed this episode fully. I just love seeing Endora be the brunt of the joke that, you know, she just couldn't get out of. And it was great. It was great overall. Just the comedic timing throughout the episode was fun. So I definitely give it 4.
All right. Move on to David.
So I loved all these comments from everybody. So thank you for sharing your ideas. I love this episode, and it's actually one of the last episodes I ever saw, like in my original run of seeing Bewitched episodes. Like, it's only probably been within the past 10 years, and it's just so funny. And even watching it last night, I'm still laughing. I love when Darren comes in and he's like, good morning, goodbye. And I do agree somewhat with Justin that he's pretty ornery to Endora all the time, but at the same time, she kind of brings it on, because I feel like it's a two-way street here. Like, she has a prejudice against mortals, which most of the witches and warlocks do. So Bill and Harriet, when I first watched this episode, I had no clue who they were, and it's because the episode, when I watched it on television, either I missed it or they edited it out, saying when Bo said, why don't you invite Bill over? I totally missed it, so I was like confused as to why they were there. What else about this episode? Oh, this was Arch Johnson that played Bo. I thought he did fantastic, especially in this, throwing out all those backhanded compliments to that old Jane. and then reacting to Agnes Moorehead just hanging on his arm and loving on him and everything. Just hilarious. And I love all, like, I would think that this episode has the most pop-ins and pop-outs and magic in maybe any of the episodes. It's just as constant. Oh, the Justice of the Peace and Edna, I just love them. And I love it when his glasses pop off and the look on his face when he's trying to see where they went. Hilarious. Anyway, love this episode, and I give it 4 stars.
Okay, great. Now let's go remotely to Mike. And Mike, what are your comments on this episode?
Yeah, I've got a few more things I want to add, some little, some big. In business Italian style, Darren, in Italian, recommended Sam Kaplan as the art director, and here the art director is Bill Walters. Samantha turns on the stereo during the party, but it's where the television always is. I don't know what they did with the TV. Also, I want to mention Rollo's potion lasts 1 hour. 1 hour. Now, suppose that it wears off in the middle of l'amour, okay? Rollo will either have women walking out on him, or he's going to have to put some charges. And then there's some of the big stuff. The big question of witches' power over each other. There's Rollo's potion, which is supposed to affect mortals, but obviously it affects witches as well in the case of Endora. Rollo is worried that Endora is going to turn him into a frog, and says that Endora is more powerful than Samantha and Rollo put together, which is kind of interesting. And then there's the idea that Endora can not only pop Samantha back to the house, but can keep her from popping back over to the Justice of the Peace. So just some interesting witchcraft rules there, which I think are different from other established rules in other episodes, but you know how it goes. And I am going to give this episode 3.5 stars.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So, now I guess it's my turn. I just love this episode. I think this is a great episode. I think that Agnes Moorehead should have won an Emmy for this episode alone. She's brilliant in every episode. She always gave it her all, but this one, you know, I mean, it really basically is one of the very few episodes that actually focused on Endora. Endora was really highlighted in this episode. They didn't do too many episodes where that really happened. I mean, she was there a lot of the time, and she's casting a spell or whatever, but she was not always. There were only like a couple of episodes where she was actually just the main focus of the episode. As everyone else has said, there was some great one-liners in this episode, and I literally, after seeing this episode as many, thousands of times that I've seen it over the last however many years, I still laugh out loud. I laugh out loud at some of the lines in this episode. My favorite one is when Samantha says she's going to go in the kitchen and check her chicken, and Darren says, and I'm going to check mine. That cracks me up every time. And then when Rollo says to Samantha, do you know that the more I see you, the more I want you? And she's like, yes, but I can't sing it now. The one thing that bugs me about this episode, and it's really the only thing because I think this episode is just it's great, it's so funny, is that clock on the side of the staircase, which was never there before. It's an ugly clock. You think they could have, it's just like kind of like hung there. This giant like clock that's just kind of hung there, and also that they could zoom in on it so that you could see that it's 11 o'clock. But again, overall, I think this is a great episode, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. Okay, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will average out the rating and see what the overall rating is for Bewitched episode number 125, Once in a Vial. We'll be right back.
Fashion-wise, it's also a great episode. So I want to point out that throughout the entire series, Endora wears Pucci and Chanel. I'm not always certain whether it's the actual designer or the style. So one of the things I love about that is Endora and Samantha going out for lunch. Sam in that scene is just sophisticated, sleek. It's kind of more, again, like suave than she usually wears. Just a real simple dress and almost like a swing coat with really cool buttons. I can't tell if they're mother of pearl-esque, but they kind of have this shine. So then we get to the dinner, and Samantha looks amazing. Again, in one of those prints, possibly a friend of mine thinks it's Pucci. I'm not totally sure. Jewel tones. She should wear jewel tones all the time. And Dora has a completely different look for this. It's the loosest dress thing that she ever has. She either has her like sleep, this, or suits or gowns or something. And I think it's showing that Endora, this is about the softest we ever see Endora. And so then we have poor Harriet, who is wearing an absolutely dated dress, probably like early 60s, and brocade, total 50s print, and blending into the Stevens couch. And then I really love the minister, and Edna is wearing about the most classic 50s dress you could ever see.
What's up, witches and warlocks? This is Adam Michael James, author of this magical manual that has always explored the continuity, witchcraft, and storylines of Bewitched. Well, it is my witchly duty to inform you that now there's also the Bewitched Continuum
in living color.
Anyway, check this out. the same geekgasmic study of each episode that was in the classic Bewitched Continuum, but the pictures! Look at that color! And this equally in-depth trip to the tab of the spin-off, and did I say spell guide? Finally got to put that in! It's a virtual rainbow of Bewitched magic! The Bewitched Continuum in living color, now on Amazon. Don't watch Bewitched without it, because it's time you learned about witches.
All right, well, welcome back to Twitch Talk, and now we're going to go through and we're going to do the ratings for Once in a Vial. And just to refresh our memories, Justin gave the episode 3.5 stars, June 4, Anna 4, Vell 4, David 4, Mike 3.5 stars, and I give it 4 stars. So, the overall rating when we average it out is 3.85714,286. So we're going to round this one up to 4 stars. Yay!
There we go.
Samantha suspects Darren of hanky-panky with a beautiful model after Endora gives him 3 wishes without his knowledge. On the next episode of Twitch Talk, we'll be discussing episode number 96, 3 Wishes. Yay! All right. Well, I want to thank David and Mike, my co-hosts, Justin, June, Anna, and Vell. We'll see you next time on Twitch Talk, and best Twitches, everyone! Best Twitches!